Hello, thank you so much. I don't know what that noise was, but good morning. Thank you so much for dropping by this video. To anyone who's new, this channel is all about the teachings of Christ, as shared by Bruno Groening. In my view, the most Christ-like being I've ever heard of, the person who lived and lived like Christ, and shared the actual teaching of Christ. More so than anyone else I've ever heard of. So if you're new, a very warm welcome. If you'd like more info, click on the link to the side or below. And this morning I felt really inspired with humility. Bruno Groening said that if you have the attitude, I want to be healthy, then ask God for help. Man is too weak on his own. So that's a very, very interesting statement. And let's really take it to heart for a moment. So according to Bruno Groening, illness comes from evil. If we want to be healthy, then we need to be free of evil. So, so we've identified our goal. The goal is to be healthy, and that's not just physically healthy, um, but emotionally, mentally, and ultimately to be connected to God. But let's keep it really simple. So our goal is to be healthy. The means to achieve that, according to Bruno's teaching, is to be free from evil, because that's what's causing the illness. So we've identified the problem, we've identified the means, but now how to become free of evil? Well, Bruno says for that, we need God's help. That's not something we as human beings can do on our own. Now, I don't know if Bruno ever used the word humility, but he certainly taught it. And this is one of the ways that he taught it. So let's reflect on that for a minute, that all of our problems stem from evil, but to overcome evil, we need divine help. Just going to drop in for a few moments of silence and reflect on these things. And I forgot to start off. Please don't believe anything I say. Find out for yourself if it's true. Find out if I'm accurately representing what Bruno Groening taught, and then find out if that is true or not. So, I'm looking for words to express this. So, like, illness is the problem, or the goal. The goal is health. The way to get healthy is to be free of evil, and the means to become freed from evil, to get healthy, is the divine power. So, and those are just, I'm just looking for word, trying to put to words what Bruno taught. So, but here's the thing. Not only do we need divine help, but Bruno once said, trust me, I'll do for you what you no longer can do. So, there's this interesting part of Bruno's teaching about the need for a helper. Part of it is that Bruno said that human beings are not able to directly receive the divine current, that they need a mediator. And then part of it is a little poetic. He would say things like, "Mm, Once someone has fallen into the pit of evil or the pit of muck and dirt, they need a helping hand to be lifted out. And so there are these statements that are sometimes very direct and sometimes kind of poetic about the need for a divine helper, a mediator, such as Bruno, such as Christ. So there's the need for divine help, and then there's the need for a helper, someone to walk this journey with us. So let's take a moment and reflect on that. Another way Bruno highlighted this topic is how he lived. He would say things like, I am nothing, God is everything. That's quite an attitude. And he spoke of himself as an instrument and a servant of God and called all of us to live that way. So these are a few of the ways that I'm aware of that Bruno really called us to a radical path of humility. And this is humility before God. Doesn't mean we're supposed to the idea of humility has gotten a little twisted around that someone who's humble sort of just submits to other people, but that's not really what humility means from a spiritual perspective. That can be really unhealthy, very unhealthy. In fact, Bruno said following other people is what led us to take in evil in the first place. So it's not about being humble before other people. It's very important to not be arrogant, put oneself above others. It's about recognizing our need for God and our need for divine assistance. Now, I'm sad to say there are some people who are distorting what Bruno taught around humility. Again, I'm going from memory, but this is pretty much a direct quote. Bruno said, if you adopt the thought, I want to be healthy, then ask God for help. Man is too weak on his own. Some people have distorted that into saying, eh, if you want to be healthy, you need the group or a group. That it's only possible to fully receive the Heilstrom with a group. That's not what Bruno taught at all. He did teach that if someone is very weak, then they need the group to receive the Heilstrom. But that's it. He never taught dependence on anything other than God. That's not to say groups are bad, or it's bad to tune in. I love tuning in with other people. It feels very supportive. And it's very important to recognize that God is the physician. Bruno or Christ or your helper is the helper, not the group, not another person, unless you're exceptionally weak. Bruno likened it to a radio. For a radio to receive a signal, it needs some energy. So if someone is completely depleted, they don't even have the energy that's required to receive the divine energy. In that case, they do need other people to tune in for them or they need to tune in a group. This is not to discourage group tuning in. I love it. But it is to encourage um, really understanding what Bruno taught and learning to rely on God and um, and finding balance. We're human beings. On a certain level, we need relationship with other people. It's like we're wired for community and we're wired for connection and relationship. So, but we're also utterly dependent on God. So each person needs to find for themselves that balance, that healthy balance between reliance on God and in healthy ways leaning on other people for support on the journey. We are here to support each other. The paradox is we're here to support each other on the path to not needing each other's support, to ultimately relying on God. I'm not there yet. I still need other people. And the last thing is that Bruno, when speaking about this need for a mediator, Bruno also spoke that um, he wanted people. His ultimate goal was to get people to the point where they didn't need a mediator, and that I believe is really sums up Bruno's. Um, you can call it skillful means that until we're able to receive the current on our own directly, we need a mediator, but it's only a temporary measure and maybe a long temporary measure. But to recognize the ultimate goal of just absolute and utter God dependence, God reliance, and direct connection to God. And that's a very personal matter for each person. I've been doing this for, 9 years now, and I still feel very much that I need Bruno and Christ's help. And I don't anticipate anytime soon not needing that, and we'll see. And so I wish everyone a beautiful, beautiful day. Thanks for saying hi, Shelly. And let's take a moment and humble ourselves before God. Thank you so much for joining in. Thanks to everyone who took the time to watch this. Big love.